From South Carolina Public Radio, this is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. This week, we're traveling back to the 1960s with games all about this important time in U.S. history.
Coming up later in the hour, we'll see just how well you know the events of the 60s, talk about the Cold War's impact on TV sitcoms, and hear 3 stories from the decade that are almost too hard to believe.
It's going to be a good one. If you'd like to join us for these games, all you got to do is call or text us, 803-470-6347. One more time, that's 803-470-6347. Or you could send us an email, whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
Now, if you're listening to this for the first time, 1, we're happy you're here.
Hello.
And 2, you might not know what's going to go on here.
Yeah.
On each episode of Who, What, When, we focus on one topic and invite 2 listeners to call in and play games about that topic. Those contestants, however, are not told about that topic ahead of time. We like to see how well they know their history, or at least how much we can all learn together.
That's right, Dan. And whichever contestant makes it through our first 2 rounds gets the weekly title of Who, What, When champion. And that's big. That's big, right?
It's something.
But it's not all, because then they get a chance to play that third game for a shot at our special trophy, the Who, What, When fanny pack.
Doesn't get any bigger or better than that.
No.
And I know you know all about the 1960s, but that's what we're covering this week, the 1960s, a very pivotal decade in United States history.
Dan, I always hear that, but what are some of the major events that made this such an important period in history? Give us broad strokes, if you don't mind.
Thanks for that clearly impromptu question, Brandon. There's a lot to cover. I'll try my best. If I had to sum up the 60s in one word, it would be transformation. These 10 years saw a lot of change when it came to politics, international relations, culture, and so many other things.
Let's start with the first one. What was happening politically? Who was in the White House?
Well, this is once again great questions.
Thank
Brandon.
you.
Absolutely. 4 presidents during the 1960s. Dwight Eisenhower was finishing up his second term. John F. Kennedy, the young upstart Massachusetts-born Catholic. His vice president, Lyndon B. Johnson, and Richard Nixon. Kennedy and Johnson served for most of the decade and worked to bring through sweeping domestic changes, including the creation of Medicare and Medicaid.
What are some of the major cultural events of the 60s?
Really doing a great job of teeing me up on this.
Thank you.
This is peak civil rights movement, which started back in 1954. But this is when African Americans across the country joined prominent leaders like MLK and Malcolm X in the fight against racial discrimination. Among other societal changes, this led to the passage of one of the most important pieces of legislation in our nation's history, the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. You also have countercultural movements like the hippies beginning to challenge social norms and taboos and questioning the United States' role in conflicts like the Vietnam War.
And then that intersects with pop culture quite a bit. I'd like to talk a little bit about music. You know, I'm a big music buff.
Yeah.
1960s, what were we listening to?
I can't believe you're coming up with all of this off the cuff.
I know. I'm in an inquisitive mood.
Yeah, you are. We could do a whole show about 60s music.
Maybe we should.
We should. During the early part of the decade, female singers like the Ronettes, the Shirelles, and the Supremes dominated the charts, showcasing vocal harmonies and catchy rhythms. There was also the folk music revival, introducing artists like Pete Seeger, Joan Baez, and Bob Dylan to the public. And you can't really talk about the 60s without mentioning the Beatles. They were probably the biggest band of the decade, and their music is still popular and still being followed more than 60 years later.
All right, Dan, quick, who's your favorite Beatle?
Gotta say George. No question. It's George Harrison.
It's an interesting choice. I'm going to go with Paul, but for my favorite former history teacher, you know who I'm picking?
Who?
I'm picking you.
Oh, what a guy,
I'm picking
Brandon.
my
Thanks
buddy.
so much. I mean,
You're welcome.
Paul's pretty cool too. Okay. Thanks so much. And that, of course, does not even scratch the surface of what was happening during the 60s. But we only have an hour, so why don't we get to our games?
I love that, Dan. And we have 2 contestants on the line. They called us like I asked them to. Shout out to them.
Shout out.
They're ready to go. Caller number 1, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hey, this is Rachel calling in from North Charleston, South Carolina.
North Charleston, South Carolina.
Very nice. Rachel, how are you feeling about the 60s? You feel good about that?
Not great.
Okay.
I was
Not great.
around for
Not
those.
great. Do you know anyone that lived in the 60s?
Yeah, I know a couple.
Okay.
Good.
Maybe.
Well, that's
Good.
a good start. Do you have a favorite Beatle?
Favorite Beatle, probably George.
Yeah.
George, a
Not-
good answer.
Shout out.
Yeah.
George Harrison.
Shout out.
Yep.
Rachel, so you're not excited about the 60s, but George is your favorite Beatle.
Fair enough.
Good. That's fair. Should we meet who she's playing against?
I think we should.
Caller number 2, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, this is Drew calling from Connecticut.
Oh.
Drew calling from Connecticut.
Very nice.
Drew, you excited about the 1960s?
I'm gonna be.
You're going to be. I love that attitude. All
That's great.
positive. And favorite Beatle?
Ooh, favorite Beatle? I mean, I was gonna say Paul.
Paul. Yeah. All right. We have Rachel and Drew with us today, and we're going to get started with a game we're calling Dig or Drag.
Drew and Rachel, these are true or false questions about the 1960s. They will describe an event that may have happened during the decade, and for each, you're going to have to tell us if you dig it, it's true, or if it's a drag, it's false. We'll use a little lingo from the time to kind of spice it up a little
You sound
bit.
so hip, Bran.
Thank
Rachel,
you.
are you ready for your first question here on Dig or Drag?
Ready to go.
The American folk song Puff the Magic Dragon by Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary was from a poem by Leonard Lipton, a 19-year-old student at Cornell University. It was about a boy growing up into adulthood, but many places around the world banned the song because they believed it to be thinly veiled references to recreational drugs. Even Vice President Spiro Agnew got in on the witch hunt. Do you dig it, or is it a drag?
I mean, it's pretty plausible that people thought that it was about smoking drugs. So
Smoking drugs.
I'm leaning, drugs, yeah. I'm leaning toward dig. I don't know where it came from, but it makes sense that it was based on some story. So my only context for this really is the Puff the Magic Dragon order at Moe's. So
It's fair.
I think I'm going to have to go for dig.
It's a classic kids order at Moe's, Puff the Magic Dragon, I believe. That comes from my time working there. Shout out Moe's on Beltline.
Shout out.
Welcome to Moe's!
Columbia, that's exactly right. Rachel, you dig it, and you are correct. Many cities banned the song from being played on the radio at the time.
You know, I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I not only had I heard about this, I thought it was true. Like, I thought that the song was a song about
Well, I mean, as a
drugs.
19-year-old at Cornell, it could be true, but this song was, like, if you read the lyrics, is fundamentally a children's song.
Yep.
And so it's a tough spot.
It's a tough spot.
And there was a weird war on drugs at the time because everyone was using them.
Yes,
and I
but
think
clearly Spiro and company did a good job because it reached Brand's desk and I bought into the
desk
propaganda.
of Brand in the late 90s.
Yes,
All right,
100%.
Drew, Rachel's on the board. It's your question here on Dig or Drag. In arguably the biggest band of the decade, the Beatles spent time in 1967 trying to purchase an island in Greece where they could record music, do drugs, and start a commune. By the time all the red tape and bureaucratic paperwork had been done for this purchase, they'd moved on and decided not to move forward. Drew, is that dig or drag?
Okay. I mean, that's kind of wild. So that could really either go one way or the other here.
That is how true or false works. Correct.
Yeah, exactly. So thinking about the era and the group itself, I want to say drag, but I'm going to say dig.
He wants to say drag. He's going to say dig. So doing what he didn't want got him the correct answer. That is also true.
Wow.
Drew is correct.
That's a fascinating story. Do we know why they decided not to move forward with it after doing all the work?
If you try to explain late 60s, early 70s Beatles to anyone, there's going to be a lot that you can't explain.
Yes.
The combination of rich and high there is a dangerous one. Just
I'm sure they thought it was a good idea during one fun trip that they went on and then decided against it on another one. So there you go.
Fair. All right, it's 1-1. Rachel, back to you. Dig or drag? Here's your next question. A common theme of the 1960s was the fight against noise pollution in urban environments, where protests were plentiful, but none more ridiculous than the mime protests in Chicago, where a group of 50 mimes successfully blocked the flow of traffic on Rush Street in 1967. Dig it, or is it a drag?
It's just so fun. You want it to be true. I wonder if there were that many mimes ever in existence that you could get in one place, but I feel like activists or whoever doesn't like noise pollution would do something like this. So I think I'm going to say dig.
She's going to say dig. Incorrect. We were looking for drag. This would be fantastic if it was true. I mean, it would just be fantastic.
It's never too late. Let's the mimes out there.
That's right.
Let's get together.
Let's
Mimes
use them
unite.
all. A mime's a terrible thing to waste.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It's a beautiful mime. That's right. Exactly.
I love
all
mimes.
Right. All right, Drew, you got a chance to take an early lead here. Talking 1960s.
You ever accidentally get stuck in the mime algorithm
Oh,
online?
man, that's tough.
I've been there. Sometimes you watch one mime video on
Next
social
thing you
media,
know,
and that's the next week of your life.
You are in it at that point.
And I'm not upset about it. I'm not complaining. Don't hear what I'm not saying.
Of course not. Drew, your next question here on Dig or Drag. 1960s is what we're talking about. As part of the Cola Wars in the 1960s, PepsiCo paid the town of Silverton, Oregon, to officially change its name to Pepsi in 1966, promoting Pepsi's Anytown USA campaign. Silverton changed its name back the following year. Dig or drag, Drew?
Okay. Just thinking about the influence that Pepsi may have had at the time, marketing positions. I'm going to say dig on this one.
He's gonna say dig. He's also incorrect. Would have been a great, imagine the red tape, though, in changing a name of a city. Great idea, though.
You know what I love, Dan, is when I drive through the mountains, like I go apple picking or something.
Yeah.
The road names up in the mountains, like the further you get away from cities, the road names are wild. They just name them whatever they wanted
That's right.
to.
That's true.
And so No. This is unrelated to Oregon, AT. I'm just saying.
I want to know when we're gonna get to Pepsi, the city.
And so maybe Pepsi could have done this if they just named a street in
Pepsi.
a mountain town.
A street in a mountain town.
Like, let's start smaller, go bigger.
The publicity would have been off the charts.
Yes.
The news would have picked that up and run with it.
Pepsi Lane.
Pepsi Lane.
Let's start with Pepsi Lane and go from there is all I'm
From
saying.
there is what I'm saying. All right, it's 1-1. We're having a lot of fun. We're talking about things that could have been true or maybe not from the 1960s in a segment we're calling Dig or Drag. Here's a chance to take the lead, Rachel. Here's your next question. Anti-establishment countercultural youth organization Youth International nominated Pegasus, a.k.a. Pegasus the Immortal, a.k.a. Pegasus J. Pig, for President of the United States in 1968. The 145-pound domestic pig was confiscated by policemen during a rally in Chicago during the Democratic National Convention.
No!
Rachel, do you dig it or is it a drag?
Is it legal to arrest a candidate for president?
That's what I'm saying, Rachel.
Man.
It doesn't seem very respectful. I really feel like, I don't know, maybe it's from something else, but I feel like I've heard the name Pegasus before. Could have been like a Simpsons thing, but...
It could have been The Simpsons or it could be the 60s.
Simpsons or 60s, it's another category we have.
I feel like Simpsons are like every decade,
Yeah.
but these days. But I think I'm going to go with dig for this one, just because I like pigs. And this one I would really like.
Shout out to pigs.
Shout out.
5 questions, 5 dig responses so far. I want that on the record. Rachel is correct.
Woo!
Pegasus is real, y'all.
This is frustrating.
Yeah.
What did
Justice for
Pegasus what did Pegasus do wrong? Pegasus was at a rally.
So the
Big whoop.
The 1968 Democratic National Convention, Chicago, Illinois, very famous.
Okay.
That's where the Sorkin movie Trial of Chicago 7 comes from.
Okay.
A lot of protests about the Vietnam War out in the streets of Chicago, in a park in Chicago. I don't remember the name. So this was one of those protest groups, and the pig didn't do anything wrong, but I think taking the pig was an attempt to quiet this organization down. The Pegasus movement was too strong.
All you really did though, is you silenced a wonderful pig.
That's right.
Let Pegasus oink for what he wants.
Oink. That's right. And I want to be clear, a domestic 145-pound pig, so not a...
It's a big boy.
That's a big indoor pig.
Yeah, that's a big indoor pig.
That's right. All right, Drew, your next question here on Dig or Drag. Here we go. Before Wallace and Gromit came along, Dale Nashwati of Toledo, Ohio, invented the Up and Atom, a bed frame that actually launched you out of your bed using its built-in springs and coordinating alarm clock. Dig or drag?
Oh, I really want this one to be true. I'm going to say dig on this one.
He's going to say dig. Also, keep record, our minutes keeper, 6 straight dig responses.
Yep.
Wild time. Drew is incorrect.
Oh, no.
Incorrect.
But Drew, if you really think about this, this is actually an opportunity because as far as I know,
That's right.
still hasn't been invented.
Can you
So,
imagine?
Drew, what's stopping you from getting out there up and at 'em?
I'm free this weekend. I might have
yeah.
All right,
Crank it out this weekend.
Let's put our heads together and see what we can come up
right,
with
that's
this
right.
weekend. We will put a deadline on it.
We'll be in touch. All right, Rachel, a chance to take a commanding lead here in our 1960s themed episode of Who, What, When. Your
Say
next
dig, you
question. Say dig, you won't. Here it is for 7 straight digs. Running for less than 2 years on NBC, the daytime game show Your First Impression featured a panel of 3 celebrities trying to guess the identity of another mystery celebrity through word association, psychological clues, and sometime by describing the scent of that celebrity to the panel. Is that dig or drag?
The scent, also psychological clues. I'm just wondering what that meant.
Yeah.
I feel that's actually a show now, I think, where it's like a reality TV show where they all gather together and try to guess how they're famous. I think because of the smell thing, even though it's outlandish, I might say drag for this one.
She's going to say drag. That's her first drag response in the game. She's incorrect.
Oh, Rachel.
That was actually true. This is a game that existed for 2 full years. I don't know how. They were trying a lot of game shows out in the 60s, Fran. All right, Drew, a chance to tie things up here on our first game show all about the 1960s. True or false, we're calling dig or drag. Here's your clue. In 1965, Cheryl Donovan used her uncanny resemblance to Jackie Kennedy to successfully complete a cross-country road trip without paying for a single meal or hotel room. Is that dig or drag?
That's bold. That is bold. Okay. Let's see here. 1965. Of course, everybody's going to know Jackie Kennedy at that point in time. I don't know a Cheryl Donovan, but I feel like it's convincing enough. I'm going to stick with the dig train. I'm going to go with dig.
The dig train is rolling, and so is the incorrect answer train.
Man.
That is incorrect. Oh, maybe 2-1 is a commanding lead. I don't know. Drew, that's incorrect, but shout out to Cheryl Donovan, who may or may not have existed. It's still 2-1. Rachel, back to you. A chance to open that lead back up here on Dig or Drag. In the 1960s, Alfred Bloomingdale of Bloomingdale's department store invented the jet board, a motorized surfboard made from aluminum designed to give the surfer over 6 horsepower of propulsion. Rachel, is that dig or drag?
Stakes are high right now.
Stakes are so high.
Stakes are high, yeah.
I feel like Bloomingdale's. I mean, I guess it's just a general store, but I always associated Bloomingdale's with like selling clothing. Based on how things have gone and the fact that we keep digging these, I think I might go with drag on this one.
She's going drag, and wouldn't you know it, it's dig. The motorized surfboard was a real invention. It was tough to manage and super duper unsafe back then. They've since kind of perfected this. It does exist now.
I've seen it out there. You can imagine Pegasus out there catching some waves.
Pegasus catching some waves. Oh my goodness! What a
We'll
time
never
for the
know.
swine.
We'll never know.
Yeah. All right. It's still 2-1. Drew, you got one question left to tie this bad boy up before we end this 1960s true or false sesh. Will it go true all the way through? Here we go. Your last question. The last question of the round. In 1968, Keegan Smollett, inspired by the Connery Bond film Thunderball, invented the Chew Watch, a fully functional wristwatch that could store and dispense exactly 1 piece of chewing gum for the wearer in case of bad breath or just to look super cool. Is that dig or drag?
Okay, I got to lock in here.
You got to lock in.
So, there's another one. I want it to be true. It's another one of those crazy 60s inventions that may or may not have actually been invented. Do I switch lines here? Do I stay on the dig train? It hasn't worked out for me so far, but I'm going to go with it. I'm going to say dig.
Drew from Connecticut completes an entire category where he said true every time, and he is incorrect.
Man.
The Chew Watch.
the Chewatch.
I want it so bad to be true.
If we play...
So wait for everyone to watch and just go click and get one piece of Trident out of there.
The good news is, Drew, is if we play our cards right, we can knock both of these out in one weekend. The bed and the watch.
Right.
If we really, maybe we divide and conquer, I don't know, but I think we can knock this out. Two great inventions that unfortunately aren't real.
The Chewatch didn't make the cut.
This is Who What When. I'm Brandon Gray here with my co-host and best friend in the world, Daniel Thompson. This week, we're traveling back to the 1960s with games all about the decade.
Our contestants, Rachel from South Carolina and Drew from Connecticut, are playing with us today. They struggled a bit with that first game, but we'll see how they do with our next round about 60s TV show.
I believe in them. That's coming up right after this break here on Who What When.
Welcome back to Who What When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my good buddy Brandon Gray. This week, we're traveling all the way back to the 1960s.
And before we get back to our games, we want to take a moment and welcome the listeners of WLRH in Huntsville, Alabama to the show. Who What When is now airing on that station, and we couldn't be happier to have you here with us.
Shout out Huntsville.
Shout out.
We're glad you're here.
Also, did you know that you can be a contestant on a future episode of Who What When regardless of where you live? All you gotta do is call or text us 803-470-6347, or you can send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
We have Drew from Connecticut and Rachel from South Carolina on the line with us today. Whoever wins this second round will be named our Who What When Champion of the Week, and we'll move on to our final game for a chance at that sweet, sweet Who What When fanny pack. We'll have to see who makes it through our next game. It's one we've dubbed Hogan's Heroes.
So see what we did there.
Yeah.
It's like the Hogan's Heroes. It's a sitcom from the 60s, but who it's Hogan's Heroes. I love it.
You got it, dude. That's exactly right. And you know, Bran, sometimes we have a bit of a hard time coming up with silly titles for these games, but that was not the case for this one about 60s TV. In fact, this time we had too many good ones.
It's true, Dano. We had a lot of choices. I Dream of TV, Doctor Who What When, Johnny Questions, Who What When Against Island. I mean, there's a lot of great ones.
Hogan's Heroes won out.
And fair. But who says we can't rename it along the way? Maybe we round robin it.
I love this. Who's to say we can't change it in the middle of the game? But anyway, this segment deals with the Cold War. Tensions between the U.S. and the former Soviet Union really started to rise during the 60s, and this conflict dominated geopolitics for most of the decade. It led to proxy wars, arms races, and the space race that capped off the 60s with the first manned moon landing. It was such an important part of American society at the time that even bled into the country's sitcoms.
And that is exactly what we're talking about in this game. Rachel and Drew, all of these questions are about 60s sitcoms that either had episodes dealing with the Cold War or the show as a whole was based in some way around the conflict. You just have to tell us which one we're talking about.
Rachel, we're going to start with you. The Cold War was a hot topic in the 1960s, and a new era of warfare was brought to American culture. Espionage, wisely capitalizing on the spy wave of the 1960s while lampooning serious detective shows like Dragnet. This intelligent 1965 sitcom starred Don Adams as a bumbling spy trying to battle the evil Chaos Agency. Rachel, is that A, Car 54, B, Mayberry RFD, or C, Get Smart?
We were right when we said it can only go up from here.
That's
because
right.
I do actually know some stuff. I think in this category, I think it was actually a crossword clue a couple days ago, New York Times crossword.
Yeah, shout out.
Shout out.
Will Short.
Shout out the crossword.
That's right.
That Chaos was the bad agency in Get Smart. So I'm going to go with Get Smart.
She's using the clues, she's doing the puzzle, and she's right. Get Smart is correct. One of my favorite 1960s television programs. Used to go over to Grandma's house in Camden, South Carolina, and watch a Little Nick at night, talking on a shoe. Fantastic. Get Smart is the correct answer. All right, Drew, how you feeling about 1960s sitcoms?
We're going to find out.
Yeah, we are.
And how often do you do the New York Times crossword puzzle?
Almost never.
Okay, well,
Feel good. Almost never.
Uphill
That means
battle.
occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally.
Here we go. The reason that the Cold War existed between the U.S. and the USSR was a recovery from and fear of the much more violent actions taken during World War II, which by 1965 was far enough away in the rearview mirror to be used for comedy, as this comedy starring Bob Crane and John Banner took place in a fictional Nazi POW prison camp for U.S. resistance fighters. Is that A, MASH, B, Hogan's Heroes, or C, F Troop?
Okay, so by process of elimination, having only heard of MASH and not those other two, I think I'm going to go with MASH on this one.
He's going to go with MASH on this one, and he's incorrect. MASH about the Korean War, I believe. Looking for Hogan's Heroes in a game Hogan's Heroes. We're looking for Hogan's Heroes. Incorrect, but that's okay. We got plenty of time left.
We got plenty of time, plenty of game left.
We got plenty of time, plenty of game left. That's exactly right. All right, Rachel, your next question here on Hogan's Heroes. Here we go. Tapping into the space race portion of the Cold War, this sitcom spanned 12 years from 1960 to 1972, featuring Fred McMurray as a widowed aerospace engineer, trying to work while also raising Mike, Robbie, and Chip. Is that A, Family Affair, B, Petticoat Junction, or C, My Three Sons?
I mean, it's in the title of My Three Sons. I have not heard anything about this show. I'm just gonna go with My Three Sons because I don't know anything and because that's a context clue.
Can it be this easy, Dan?
I did name three sons.
You did name three sons.
Yeah, it's that easy.
Oh,
My Three Sons is correct. Nicely done,
Drew's
Rachel.
over there angry right now.
Yeah, he's angry.
You literally named three sons.
That's right. All right, Drew, you got a chance to get back in this thing right now. Here's your next question. Aimed more at kids, but featuring heavily themed Cold War villains and plot lines, this cartoon starring a flying squirrel and a clueless moose on the hunt for spies, Boris and Natasha, was a hit for ABC and NBC from 1959 to 1964. Is that A, Rocky and Bullwinkle, B, Top Cat, C, Tom and Jerry?
I don't know what it says about me by knowing more about this particular question than any of the other ones so far, but I'm going to go with A, Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Rocky and Bullwinkle is correct. I watched The Rock and Bullwinkle as a kid. I love the interstitials.
Yeah.
I love Dudley Do-Right.
Yeah,
Come on.
Hey, Drew, quick, give us that great Bullwinkle impression you do.
maybe this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Rachel, Drew's back in it. You need this one. Here we go. Originally airing in 1967, this episode entitled Double Double Toil and Trouble of this, let's say, supernatural sitcom was a direct allegory of international politics during the Cold War instead of featuring rival covens that ends in a pie fight. Is that A, I Dream of Jeannie, B, Bewitched, or C, Hazel?
I've only heard of the first two, and I have not watched either, but I think I'm going to go with I Dream of Jeannie just because that is more familiar to me.
She's going to go with I Dream of Jeannie. Incorrect. The coven was the clue there. Rachel, incorrect. We're looking for Bewitched, and that sound you hear is the door creaking back open. Well, we can fix it in post. Drew, you've got an opportunity with that miss from Rachel to get back into competitive shape here. And we're going to go ahead with your next question on Hogan's Heroes.
I'm nervous.
I got you. And that's tough in that suit.
I know.
Drew, here's a question. This usually silly 60s sitcom starring Bob Denver and Dawn Wells about a diverse group of perpetually stranded strangers occasionally dipped its toe into the Cold War waters, even featuring a 1965 episode entitled Niet Niet Not Yet, where two cosmonauts land with the gang instead of their intended target of the Black Sea. Is that A, The Jetsons, B, My Favorite Martian, or C, Gilligan's Island?
Oof, there's two competing clues in there. The one, first of all, being stranded, but then cosmonauts. Originally, I was thinking Gilligan's Island, but then the Jetsons creeped in there as an option. I'm going to stick with my original guess. I'm going to go Gilligan's Island.
He's going to go Gilligan's Island, and that is correct.
Oh my goodness.
We got ourselves
It's
a ball
happening.
game. Got ourselves a ball game.
I actually just got word, Niet Niet Not Yet is actually going to air after Wait Wait Don't Tell Me, which is really exciting.
It's unbelievable. It's a really good, it's a 1-2 punch.
It is.
Wait, Don't Tell Me, and Niet Niet Not Yet.
Do with that joke what you will.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, we air?
We air. So actually, at not
Before.
depending on your market, it could be at any time.
It could be
we're in
any
a bunch
time.
of markets.
Yeah,
but it'd be hurt.
So many markets.
Yet, not yet. Rachel, here we go. Here's your question. A spinoff of the highly popular Andy Griffith Show, this 5-year running sitcom was a major hit in its own right. And while its main character left Mayberry to join the United States Armed Services, most of its plot points tried to steer clear of hot-button issues of the time like the Vietnam War instead of opting for hijinks at Camp Wilson. Is that A, Dobie Gillis, B, Gomer Pyle USMC, or C, Barney 5 CWPD?
That's a lot of acronyms.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this show, whatever it is, but I've only heard of Gomer Pyle, so I think I'm just going to go with that one.
She's going to go with Gomer Pyle, and she is correct.
Wow.
The bumbling gas station attendant of Mayberry joins the Marines.
That's right.
That's the bit of the show.
Which is, it's sneaky though, because Barney Fife, also on Andy Griffith, also got spin off.
Also got spun off.
But
yes.
Doesn't matter for this answer because you got it right.
You got it right, and that's all that's important.
That's right.
Drew, the pressure's now on, sir. Here's your next question here on Hoogan's Heroes, talking about 1960s sitcoms that had to do with the Cold War. Here we go. When Rob's son Richie takes the idea of a space race competition too seriously, hilarity ensues between Rob and his neighbor, which was another home run for this all-timer sitcom that found a way to find the humor amidst the real anxieties of the Cold War era, avoiding the Ottoman along the way. Is that A, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, B, I Love Lucy, C, The Dick Van Dyke Show?
Okay. This is one that it sounds like should be more obvious than it is to at least me. Initially, I wanted to say A, but I'm going to go with C, Dick Van Dyke Show.
He pulls out C, The Dick Van Dyke Show, and during the intro to The Dick Van Dyke Show, occasionally Dick Van Dyke would enter the house and trip over the Ottoman.
Uh-huh.
And that was the clue, and Drew got it right.
How about
It is The
that?
Dick Van Dyke Show, and all-time, some are saying the best 1960s sitcom.
It's a good one.
Many people are saying it.
How about Drew needing to get that one?
Had to get it.
Pulled it out. This is still a game.
Still a game.
This is a big one, Rachel.
It's a big one, Rachel. Here it is. Your next clue, talking about 1960s sitcoms. The fear of nuclear attack during the Cold War was at its height just after the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1961. And this otherworldly sitcom lampooned it for laughs in its 1965 episode, Who's Got a Secret?, in which an early warning system is mistaken for a secret military project. Is that A, My Favorite Martian, B, The Flying Nun, C, The Courtship of Eddie's Father?
Wow. I have really not heard of many of these because, any of them could be the one. But I think because you said otherworldly, I'm going to go with My Favorite Martian.
She's using her clues.
Yes, as you do with the New York Times crossword puzzle and Who, What, When.
The New York Times crossword getting shout outs left and right here. That's promo code Who What When at checkout for the virtual bundle. They just put the mini on there.
Yeah.
It really pissed me off. That's right. that's podcast stuff. Rachel is correct.
Yes.
My Favorite Martian.
How about that?
All right, Drew, it's a must-have here. It's a must-have. Talking Hoogan's Heroes 1960s sitcoms. Here's your last question. Because the entire premise of the show was a family that was, different, it could easily play for laughs, something like the episode Herman the Master Spy, where Herman is accidentally scooped up by Russian fishermen and mistaken for something that he's not. Is that A, the Addams Family, B, the Munsters, or C, the Frankenstein Family?
So I never watched any of them, but I feel like just based off of the context clues there, I want to say A, the Addams Family.
He's going to say A, the Addams Family, and that is incorrect. Eddie Munster looking
Yeah.
for the Munsters. That was a tough one. Tough one there, Drew. Drew, a valiant effort.
Yes,
But
it was.
as we tally the scores, it appears that Rachel from North Charleston has won Who What Win this week and is
Yes.
moving on to the final round to play for the vaunted Who
That's
What
right.
Win fanny pack.
That's right.
Rachel, I know you're excited. Drew, thanks for joining us this week
That's right.
on Who What
No
Win.
fanny pack for Drew, but he does have weekend plans, so yeah, at least
That's
we
right.
got something
Yeah,
out of
you
it.
got
Thank
something
you
to do.
so much for joining us, Drew.
Thank you guys for having me. It was a good time.
This is Who I Win. I'm Brandon Gray here with my friend Daniel Thompson on an episode all about the 1960s.
Our contestant Rachel from South Carolina has come out on top after our first 2 rounds. She now heads to our final game for a chance at our weekly prize, the Who What Win fanny pack.
You think she's going to take it home? I do. We'll find out after the break here on Who What Win.
I joined that time.
Thank you.
You're welcome, dude. Welcome back to Who What Wins, South Carolina Public Radio's hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson, here with my best bud, Brandon Gray. This week, we're looking back on the 1960s with games about this important decade in U.S. history.
That's right, Dan. It's been a really fun episode, and we like to have fun episodes every single week. But in order to do that, we need contestants. So we would love for you to join us on a future episode of the program. All you got to do is call or text us. The number is 803-470-6347, or you can send us an email to whowhatwin@scpublicradio.org.
Our contestant this week, Rachel from South Carolina, won our first 2 rounds and is officially now the Who What Win champion of the week.
Wow, wow, wow.
She now has a shot at our weekly trophy, a Who What Win fanny pack. In order to do that, she'll need to get through our final game today, one we play a lot around here. It's History or His Story, 60s edition.
Rachel, here's how History or His Story is going to work. Former history teacher Dan has 3 stories about the 1960s. 2 of them are 100% historical fact. For the other, Dan has mixed some facts with details that are 100% made up by him, aka it is his story. And after each story, you and I will have a chance to ask questions and chat a little bit and try to figure it out. We'll figure out which one's real, which one's not. I want you to win. I want to help you out. We're all in this together. And after we hear all 3 stories, you're going to have to tell us which one you think is Dan's lie.
Rachel, are you nervous about a 1960s history or his story? And are you nervous about possibly getting that fanny pack?
Very nervous. That's what this was all for.
That's right.
And
You get it.
It's been a tough one, you guys.
It's been
This is
tough.
a tough episode.
What would you be utilizing your fanny pack for should you win it?
I'm a big fan of the crossbody fanny pack, so
Yeah.
maybe like some dog treats on the morning dog walks.
Yeah. My wife uses that when we go on our dog walks on Friday mornings. She has the Who What Win fanny pack for
Dude,
such a time
The
as that.
crossbody has changed my life.
Yeah, you're a crossbody
I'm a
guy.
big crossbody
That's right.
boy now. Yeah, that's right.
exactly. All right, Rachel, I'm going to tell these stories in chronological order, and you can decide which of them is a lie. They're all 1960s themed. Here we go. Story number 1 is called Russians Go Mel Brooks on the USA. During the Eisenhower presidency, which spanned all the way until 1960, nuclear proliferation took hold, which meant defense spending ballooned out of control. Eisenhower even warned about this problem in his farewell address when he talked about the military-industrial complex. Well, not to aid that situation at all was the U-2 spy incident.
I love
of
U2.
1960.
Now,
Not that
when they
U2,
put the album on the phone, that was a little bit over and overreach, but I do like
different
U2.
U2.
Got it.
In what happened in this spy incident was the U.S. illegally sent a plane over Soviet territory on a reconnaissance mission. Flown by Francis Gary Powers, his plane was shot down by a Soviet missile. Powers parachuted safely from the plane, but was subsequently captured by the Soviets. Initially, the United States claimed it was a civilian weather research aircraft operated by NASA, but finally admitted that they just broke the rules and sent a spy over Russia. One of the most embarrassing moments for the United States in the history of the Cold War, along with the Bay of Pigs and the Iran-Contra scandal. Francis Gary Powers was released 2 years later in exchange for a Soviet officer named Rudolf Abel. Now, There was a ton of United States propaganda during the Cold War. Political cartoons that portrayed Russian leaders to movies like Dr. Strangelove, which is still considered an all-time great satire. The Russians were not to be outdone, especially after the U-2 incident. What they did was stage an actual play called, and I'm going to butcher this, Sami Umni Amerikansky Pilot, which in English is the smartest American pilot. This is an actual play spoofing Francis Gary Powers, the United States, and the entire U-2 spy plane incident. This musical took place at the Taganka Theater in 1964. It starred Vladimir Vysotsky as Powers, also included Eisenhower dressed as an actual clown during the entire play, and Kennedy as an infant baby, the president that was coming in 1960. During the play, Powers is convinced of the goodness of communism, and the Soviets agree to trade him back to the United States, knowing he's now a spy for the USSR. The play revitalized the historic Taganka Theater and is also used as fear propaganda in the United States. That's the end of story number one. Bram, what do you think?
Well, I'd like to hear the original cast recording.
I would love
of this musical. See if there's any good songs on it. I mean, listen, this sounds as believable as it gets, right? Like, the propaganda was running wild. This makes sense to me. I can see this happening. But what about you, Rachel? Any questions about this?
No questions, but I agree. I feel like the Soviet Union's really big on propaganda and, making art political. So I think it sounds pretty.
There you have
Yes,
it.
but also, Rachel, keep in mind, Dan's a little liar,
I'm a little
and he
liar,
could
yes.
be,
Yeah.
anticipating us knowing, propaganda, that makes sense. Maybe that's what he's counting on.
Maybe that's what I'm
Rachel.
doing. Double back. All right, well, let's see. It's story number two reeks of the same thing to you. Bram.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
The second story is called Pepsi Becomes the Sixth Largest Military in the World. All right. In 1959, the Cold War is at its height. Khrushchev and Eisenhower are having a famous debate near a kitchen equipment stand. It's a pretty famous time in Cold War history. Let me introduce you to Donald Kendall. He's the future president CEO of PepsiCo and had a Pepsi stand up at the exhibition in Moscow near the debate stage. So when Khrushchev and Eisenhower are talking, Donald Kendall is trying to sell Pepsi in the USSR. He notices Khrushchev begin to wipe his brow from sweat. Kendall rushes over with an ice-cold Pepsi, and it became a very famous picture during the Cold War. This began a partnership between Pepsi and the Soviet Union, leading to over 20 plants being built in Russia and Pepsi obtaining exclusive rights to sell their soft drink in Russia in exchange for American rights to sell Stolichnaya, or as I call it, Stoli, Russian vodka. This partnership made Coca-Cola infuriated for decades as they tried to introduce different sodas into the marketplace that weren't cola, such as Fanta and Minute Maid, because the contract was only for cola. Coca-Cola people claimed that Pepsi was helping Russia build nuclear missiles and that they were communist. You get the idea. By the 1980s, payment between Russia and Pepsi became a big problem. Western companies that wanted to become global were all having this problem because Soviet currency wasn't good outside of Soviet territory. And while there was an announced credit system, it didn't always work at the values Pepsi was dealing. In 1989, Russia sent PepsiCo payment in materials, specifically war materials, including 17 submarines, a cruiser, a frigate, a destroyer. While PepsiCo announced their intention to sell all of this for scrap, which it eventually did, at the time of the transaction, PepsiCo's ammunition and military measurements placed them as the sixth most powerful military in the entire world.
Wow. That
That is the end of story number two. Bram, what are you thinking?
I mean, listen, I've heard about the soda wars, the cola wars, if you will, but I didn't know it was like this, brother. Wow.
Yeah.
This is something. I just feel like if this was the case, I don't know, I feel like I would have heard about this at some point in time, that Pepsi at one point in their history
Top six.
had this much military equipment to their name.
Yeah.
I don't know. This feels like it would have been, it would have stuck with me if I had heard about this in history class. So I don't know.
Rachel,
This is interesting.
Rachel, what are you thinking?
I would agree, but isn't Pepsi Carolina's base?
Born in the Carolinas.
That's what the billboard said.
Up in our hometown of Greenville, South Carolina,
right.
they make a lot of Pepsi.
I feel like we'd really maybe hear about this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We
Seems a
specifically.
little far-fetched. All right, we ready for story number 3?
I think so. I'm in. Sorry. I'm just very.
That's right.
I think I know already.
You think
but
you know already? You don't even need to hear.
Well,
All right.
let's just hear it though.
Well, then let me tell you about story number 3 called the Lyndon Johnson Gotcha Prank.
Classic Lyndon.
Lyndon Baines Johnson, the president for most of the 1960s, 1963 to 1969, after the death of JFK, established the Great Society, the biggest government expenditure for social services and social programs in the history of our country, was known for his, let's call it outlandish behavior. He would take interviews on the toilet, had a lot of foul language, was pretty racist as an individual, even though he signed the Civil Rights Act. But he also was known for his grand sense of humor, and he was from Stonewall, Texas, and he maintained a massive ranch in Texas during his presidency right next to the lake. Johnson had a favorite prank involving his amphicar. What's an amphicar?
Tell me, give it to me one more time.
Eyebrows raised there.
Amphicar.
An amphicar was a German car that was the only civilian car ever mass-produced that was amphibious, meaning it could drive on land and on water.
Yes.
They only produced 4,000 of these when they just didn't sell and really weren't very useful to the average.
They didn't sell.
I know. Johnson purchased one. Lyndon Johnson had one of the 4,000 made amphicars on his ranch. So whenever someone would visit Stonewall Ranch as a president, he would offer to take them on a tour of the ranch in the amphicar. He did not tell them it was an amphicar. Toward the end of the tour, they would reach the highest point on the ranch, a road that wrapped back around next to a hill that descended directly into a lake. When they would reach the top of the hill, Johnson would begin to panic, saying that the brakes in the car weren't working as they should. And simultaneously send the amphicar careening down the hill toward the lake. He would increase the panic until they hit the water head on when the car would level. Among many firsthand accounts of this prank include Johnson's Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, John Gardner, as well as Johnson's Special Assistant of Domestic Affairs, Joseph Califano. That is the end of story number 3.
Well,
Bran, what do you think?
Well, I love it, first of all. I'm glad I stuck around.
Thank you for not
I'll say
leaving.
this. I have some questions about this one. One, I feel like if a vehicle is both for road and water, it would look different on the inside. There'd be some different buttons and knobs and gizmos that would give it away that this isn't your standard, road vehicle, right? But how much, would it turn into a boat? What are we talking? How deep could it go into the water? What are we talking?
It would float.
It would float.
The motor would run.
It would take off
forward. Yes, without the wheels.
And how long could it be in the water?
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know about this one. Doesn't that make sense though, Rachel? If you get into a car that's both for road and water, you'd think you'd see more knobs, right?
Yeah, it's not much of a good prank. And also the fact that they didn't sell.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, 4,000 of them. Maybe they're crazy expensive. Yeah.
Well, I would assume they would be expensive, but, rich people, if I was rich, this would be number one on
the list, the amphicar.
Yeah.
All right, Rachel, any other questions about that story? Are you feeling like you are about ready to choose?
I'm feeling ready.
Okay, so we have Russians go Mel Brooks in the USA. Pepsi becomes the 6th largest military in the world, and the Lyndon Johnson gotcha prank with the amphicar. Rachel, what do you think is my story? Which one's the lie?
God, I feel like there's multiple lies at this point. I think I'm just gonna have to go with the amphibious car.
Okay, amphibious car is my story. Just too much there doesn't make sense.
And it's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
The other
Brandon,
two, not so good.
is that where you were leaning?
I got to be honest. This is one of the tougher ones that I can remember in recent history because, you have story number 1, which is it sounds the most believable. Classic brand overthinking here. That means that it's not true. The second one, Pepsi. It's such a crazy story that, especially to Rachel's point, I feel like I would have heard about the fact that Pepsi at one point had the 6th most powerful military in the world. So that's crazy to me. And third, it's insane. It's insane, right? It's insane. I am going to make things interesting. I'm going to lock in the story that's the most. No, I'm going to lock in Pepsi. I'm going to lock in Pepsi.
Okay.
I'm going to lock in Pepsi
I love that.
for fun.
All right.
Because I just feel like I would have heard about this.
Great. Pepsi at one point did have the sixth
All right, I'll
biggest
see myself
military
out. Have a
in the
good one.
world.
Good to be here.
Pepsi had the sixth biggest military in the world. That story, 100% true. Rachel, Lyndon Baines Johnson Amphicar prank, also 100% true.
Oh, man, I almost went with one. Dadgummit.
Yeah. Also 100% true. The Amphicar real. Lyndon Johnson doing the bit real. All real. And the most believable, the play, incorrect. That was my story. Rachel, a valiant effort. A wonderful champion of the week. Unfortunately not getting the fanny pack, but what a player, what a game. Rachel, thanks so much for joining us.
Wow, that was a tough one, but it was really fun.
Awesome.
Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much, Rachel.
This car is incredible.
You looked it up.
And that's going to do it for our trip back to the 1960s. Thanks again to our callers, Rachel and Drew, for playing with us. And congratulations again to Rachel on being this week's Who, What, When champion.
Our producer is A.T. Shire. Our executive producer is Sean Birch, who we like to call the Skipper. The show is a production of South Carolina Public Radio and is made possible in part by listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
You can join us for a future episode of Who, What, When. Just call or text us, 803-470-6347, or send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
You can find out more about the show at our website, whowhatwhenshow.org.
And you can listen to extended versions of the show on your favorite podcasting app or through your smart speaker.
I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. Join us again next week for more history, games, and trivia right here on Who, What, When.